to talk about India under siege, how to keep my family safe while serving my patients. Dr. Randeep is Senior Medical Oncologist and Director of Medical Oncology at Narayan Hospital in Gurugram. Over to Randeep. Hemant, you have raised your hand. I know I can see that, but can we keep the questions for the discussion, please? I would appreciate your help in this.
Uh, Thank you, Purvish sir, and thank you, Dr. Rajay, for setting the stage. I think you very rightly said that what has happened in India, we are actually learning, and what I have realized while talking to my colleagues in Mumbai is far ahead, and generally every second, third day I do contact with our friends in Mumbai. You learn a lot, and you can't avoid this disease. It is that you have to learn to live with it, and this was also one of the statement of our Chief Minister of Delhi. Can I have the next slide? Next slide, please. So if you see this, this is a cartoon. The first slide, please. So if you see on the right hand side, this is the cartoon by the WHO, which clearly says that this is the requirement when you deal with COVID-19. And if you see the numbers, 89 million masks, 76 million gloves, and 2.9 million liters hand sanitizer is what is required by the healthcare workers across the globe to handle this disease. On the left hand side, I have shown in this slide few stats which are actually worrisome, and these are stats of Delhi government and private hospitals, which is a very low incidence as compared to the world. And even if you see in Delhi, you have at a given point of time around 1,000 patients admitted in different hospitals. So definitely, if you feel that this disease is getting less, no. And Dr. Rajay very rightly said that this is the time when you are undergoing an unlocking, that you will start seeing the surge in the number. And as the number is rising, we have every second or third day the headline that the paramedics, doctors, and nurses are also getting infected, and other frontline healthcare workers are also getting infected with this. Next slide, please. So of course we all know that there is a gap. If you talk about India, there is a big gap between the doctors and the expectations. I mean, the doctor patient ratio was already not very favorable, and then we are stuck with this crisis. Already our front office staff, wherever we have, whether it is our private clinic, hospitals, they are already doing multitasking, such as they're taking care of the billing, they're taking care of the appointments, and on the top of that, we have we have to rely partly on them regarding social distancing, regarding sanitization, and actually it is quite tough because we all are learning, and our support staff, as far as India is concerned, was already overburdened, and now burdening them further with the steps, preventive steps, social distancing is actually difficult. Next slide. So what I have learned, and these are few guidelines. I have taken something from the guideline. I know there have been many questions in the chat, and there are many things practically which we are doing. I have just taken most of the things which the MOHF, that is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and ICMR does tell us to do. So what is to be avoided in a routine oncology OPD? All individuals who have undertaken international travel in the last 14 days are to be strictly avoided. All symptomatic contacts, or I will rather now say all contacts of the lab confirmed cases are to be avoided. All symptomatic healthcare personals, whether it is your friend, colleague, senior, also has to be avoided. All patients who are already suffering from fever or breathlessness because of any reason whatsoever it is, whether it is confirmed bacterial pneumonia, sepsis, are to be avoided in the OPD, and they have to be. I'm not saying to avoid means that you don't let this patient and let them die. I want to say that they all have to be considered and go through the COVID triage route. And symptomatic refers to fever, cough, shortness of breath here. Next slide. So apart from the triage, how can you do triage at your own level? I mean, definitely when the patient calls you, that is the first step. A telephonic appointment helps you that if there is a slight hint that patient is having some symptoms such as fever and cough, or there is some history of contact, generally what I am advising them that you please stay at home at least for 7 to 10 days, even if there is a slightest risk, even if there has been one episode of fever which was around 100.5, 101, we usually tell these patients that you observe for a week and then come to the hospital. Apart from whatever you can do on the phone and guide your front office staff to do the triage, the new routine is that you have to use all your gadgets at office separately and home separately, decontaminate your phone, remove all your jewelries and watches, tie your hair, shift to scrubs, use full sleeve gowns if you can. Next slide, please. And as Dr. Rajay mentioned, I think mask is now a part of clothing for 2020. It will be considered as a decor, and you have to adapt to the culture of mask at least for this year. Regarding the workplace, I mean, this workplace can be any workplace. It can be hospital, it can be office. If you have your colleagues, children, spouses going to the workplace, please avoid unnecessary meetings. No elective job at hospital means ki if the meeting is not urgent, there is no need to get collected. Use virtual platforms, clean your door knob computers. As far as possible, try to keep your central AC off and windows open the of the OPD. Wash your hands as frequently as possible. Avoid lifts and use stairs. Leave all your stethoscope, knees, everything, knee hammers, and all medical stuff at the hospital. Next slide, please. So this is one of the ways we have actually, this is some pics of my hospital where they have separated the waiting area. Most of the attendants and relatives are not allowed. Even if they are sitting, we have blocked the central seat. And this is our head and neck oncosurgeon who's in a, she's already in a full PPE. As we all know that head and neck oncosurgeons are among the most exposed among our specialty. Next slide. So a support staff, I think we all know. I will just, I mean, we all have to adapt to all these things: arrival of the patient, hand sanitization of the patient, providing the mask, checking the body temperature, sending the patient to the registration, maintaining social distancing, and also guiding the patient. I think most of us are following this, and we all have to use. These are the different type of protective equipments which are available to us, and we have to use it as per the zoning in the hospital. Next slide, please. So this is the zoning which we have been following in our hospital. Number one is the level 1 protection, which is a clean zone where you have administrative staff, HR office, and staff lounge. We are using hand hygiene and masks are compulsory. Surgical caps and disposable gloves in the level 1 protection, which are basically clean zones where there is not much of patient interaction directly with the hospital staff. Level 2 are the semi-contaminated zones. These are the front office gatekeepers, where again we have been using a surgical cap, N95, gloves, and wherever possible, a normal gown. Level 3 protection are contaminated zones such as emergency areas, the whole emergency staff, any aerosol generating procedure in the OPD, daycares, radiation machines, staff dealing with secretions, where we are using the level 3 protection. As you can see in the pic, that includes the full PPE. Now, as the incidence of COVID increases, how do we change this zoning? I mean, do we convert everyone into zone 3, and will that be a judicious way of dealing with PPE? And often I think that I will leave it to the panel discussion. In the previous such webinars also, there has been a discussion that what PPE is to be used in the daycare and OPD. And I just expect Dr. Purvesh to cover that in the panel discussion. Next slide. Also, there have been guidelines, and I think again the Indian government have been very prompt to adapt teleconsultation services. ESMO, and of course everyone has all the regulatory authorities and oncology societies have issued advisories for the oncologist as well as patient. And but ESMO has specified at many places to use virtual platforms, and virtual platforms not only by dealing with your patient, but also virtual platform while you are dealing with your colleagues in the multidisciplinary meetings. They also intend to stop all MDTs and shift to a virtual meet. And also again and again, if you go through the website of ESMO, they have actually dwelled a lot of significance on teleconsultation. Next slide, please. Kashish, next slide, please. So these are the telemedicine practice guidelines. While going through the literature, I realized that Ministry of Health of India was already pro telemedicine guidelines, but they were proposed to come in 2022. But because of this pandemic and the whole thing coming in, the MOHF actually issued the guidelines on 25th March 2020. Next slide, please. Next slide, Kashish. Next slide.
So there's a
So
slight
I'm
lag.
not into detail. I will just mention salient features in 1 or 2 slides of your guidelines. The code of ethics for telemedicine, as far as India is considered, all rules regarding medical ethics, patient privacy, data protection, confidentiality are same. Health, education, and counseling of the patient are part of teleconsult. Prescribing medicine without an appropriate diagnosis will amount to a professional misconduct. You shall not insist on telemedicine if the patient is willing to come for in-person consult. Even in this pandemic crisis, consultation can be charged at any stage. Both the parties, patient and RMP, have the right to discontinue this consult. Next slide. So just take care that patient is identified. You have a government ID. Identify yourself to the patient before the start of consult. Display your registration number. Maintain the records. And please remember that the routine guidelines when we give a in-person prescription is different from the guidelines of the telemedicine. There are different lists O, A, B, which you have to go through. What you don't have to do is that please don't share personal data, maintain the privacy, and please remember while giving telemedicine consult, there is nothing to run away from this new concept. But please remember that whenever you feel that you are uncomfortable in continuing with telemedicine consult, please convert it into a inpatient consult. Next slide. Kashish, next slide.
Sorry, sir. There's a slight lag. It'll
So
take you a
what
little
I
bit.
feel is, no, it's fine. So what I feel is this is actually the gist of, I mean, this is the most important slide. And I have realized in last 4 or 5 days is that we all are getting exposed to COVID. And this is the definition of the MOHF India again, where they define the contact. And quite often you will see discussing among ourselves that am I a contact? I mean, this question must have arisen in your mind. And the definition of a contact, I mean, we all know what is the definition of a case definition of COVID. But I think as an oncologist, we have to remember that there is a definition of contact also. There are 2 types of contact as per ICMR. High risk are those who have touched the body fluids of the patients, had direct physical contact with the body of the patient, touched the patient, shook hand, hugged the patient, touched or cleaned the linen, clothes or dishes of the patient, lived in the same household, anyone in close proximity, less than 1 meter of a confirmed case, and passenger traveling in close proximity, less than 1 meter for more than 6 hours. All of these are high risk. The low risk definition is that if you are sharing the same space, same class in the same school, same class, you will be considered as a low risk, but you are not in close proximity with a positive case. Even if you are traveling in a bus or a train or a metro, but you are not within a meter and you are not more than 6 hours with a positive contact, you will be considered low risk. If you are a low risk contact, you have to just maintain social distancing at home and just take care that you don't develop symptoms which are fever and breathlessness. In case you are a high risk contact, you shall actually follow a strict home quarantine for 14 days. And this applies to all healthcare workers. Quarantine is from 14 days from the last day of exposure. Initiate self-health monitoring. Involve your doctor. And you shall try to get at least 1 test if you are a high risk contact from day 5 to day 14. But these were the guidelines that, as we all know, every week MOHF has been issuing the guidelines which are actually changing very rapidly. And we can discuss this in the panel discussion again. Next slide. So home care, I think we all know, we all are following this, maintaining a well-ventilated single room, limiting the movement of a patient or at least a suspect. Household members should stay in different room in case you have a suspect. limit the numbers of the caregivers. I mean, these are all applies to the suspect also, or a high risk contact also. Hand hygiene at home, avoid direct contact with body fluids, using dedicated linen and eating utensils, clean and disinfect the surfaces, and in home 1% hypochlorite is the most useful detergent which you all can use. Next slide. So what you have to remember is also that we all do talk about PPE, but PPE is not a simple step. At least whenever I have used PPE, I have a video which I usually use it, and it is actually a 10 to 12 step procedure. And if you don't do your doffing and donning PPE properly, it can be more harmful rather than protective to you. So please, while taking care, please take care that you follow all these steps. Have a video. We all have the video from AIMS, WHO, MOHF. Please keep it in your, and at least see 3-4 times till you get used to the doffing donning procedure. And so that while removing, the more important is that while you're removing your PPs, please don't get infected and get drowned with your own PP. Next slide. So this is my last slide. I think as a doctor, as a senior, I mean, as a senior, holding a senior position, we take care of the leadership, we take care of the hospital capacity, that we are judiciously using ICU bed. We are taking care of the PP. We are taking care of our workforce, which is getting quarantined. In almost 50% of the workforce is getting quarantined. Also, we are taking care of patients, providers, and community. But what we forget, last slide, please. And what we forget is our family. Thank you.